This episode is presented by Royal London, founding partner of the first ever British and Irish Lions women's team.
Coley, we're back. We've had a little sabbatical. We were very busy during the Lions. We did a bit of content post-Lions. And then, because we're small business owners, we decided that we both needed a couple of weeks off. So what have you been up to? What's been going on? I haven't seen you. I miss you.
Yeah, well, I got a job, Ben, and you've been on holiday. So that's what's been happening. Yeah. So how was your birthday? It's been your birthday. You're a year older. What did you get up to?
Mate, busy week in the Youngs household because it was Etty's 4th birthday on the 1st September, Boris's 11th birthday on the 2nd of September, and the big 36 on the 5th on Friday. So a very busy week. What did I get up to? So for the kids, obviously we did bits and bobs, but for myself, because I would say that being 36 is more important than being 11 or 4. We just went out for a nice lunch with close family on Friday, just by the coast there. Very, very nice lunch, a couple of drinks. Then picked up the kids and took it easy, mate. Yeah, not too much. There was not too much fuss. A lot of cake was consumed and a good few drinks.
I was going to ask if a lot of calories were consumed. Not that anything would suggest that they were, but I just thought it might, there might have been.
There was. I am looking forward to getting to the studio, though, because obviously, no doubt, the For Love of Rugby team has brought me a lovely present for my birthday. So I look forward to opening that when we're back in a week's time.
I've actually, I'll get you a present. Probably a signed copy of your own book. That'd be nice.
If you can hear a bit of background noise, that is actually Etty. My mum got her a pink ride-on Vespa electric thing, so she's going up and down the hallway right now. So if you can hear a bit of sort of a high electric pitch in the background, that is her. So she's having a great time. She's had a great birthday week. But yeah, the birthday present I did receive, Coley, which was pretty cool, was the first sort of copies in print of my new book, Beyond the Line. So it comes out on the 25th, Thursday, 25th of September, and you can pre-order it now. You don't need to, Coley. I will give you a copy, mate. I will hand you a copy. So you don't need to pre-order, but any listeners out there, you can pre-order now and they'll arrive hopefully on the 25th when it releases.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a policy of refusing to buy rugby books. I will read them if someone gives me them, but I refuse to buy them. So that's my policy, which is great. So I look forward to reading it and learning all about you. And it's like the second book you've released, isn't it? Because the first one was Stuff Ben Said.
Well, this is the first book released by choice rather than the other one. What's life like, Coley, for you, mate? Obviously you got a job. Is it weird? Is it good? What's going on?
Yes, it's weird, Ben. I have been now office bound, and it's weird in the fact that changing to probably an office-based job, and I'm sure there's office-based workers out there, but in rugby, right, we have a weekly day, train Monday, train Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, and you know what the week is, you know what the training thing is, and even if you train hard, even if it's been a bad day's training, you're kind of like, oh, I got better at weights today, or you know what I mean, like I can see progress in what we did on the field, or I did a video review session, and you kind of got instant feedback, like, well, you used to get instant feedback on the field, didn't you, in the fact that it's like, that's really good, that's crap, mainly that's crap, but every day, whereas like now you work in office, and I work in office, and it's like you have some days you do not a lot, and you're like, don't think I've justified my wages today because I've been waiting on an email or I've been waiting on someone to get back to me. And then other days you have like mad periods of like work and grafting. You're like, I've definitely done a job today, but then you don't actually know because you don't get any sort of feedback. Whereas in like rugby, obviously you get instant feedback, and if a pass goes to hand or a kick goes to, not that I ever kick a fucking ball, but you know what I mean? Like everything you did, there was instant feedback. Whereas in the office, it's kind of like, you do something, you're like, yeah, I think that's all right. And then we'll just find out in 6 months' time. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And also, basically, I've been hot desking. So I've refused to actually have a desk at work because then people can pin me down and actually make me do work. So what I'm doing is I'm just working at 5 different desks and walking around and hopefully just, generally just being great for the environment. That's what, David Brent, friend first, colleague second.
I love that. So you're just bouncing from room to room. Very much like, you remember Nick Easter in 2011 World Cup camp, where you had like 4 different activities in the morning. It was like pool activation. You had like a weight session. I think it was like mountain biking. And there was another thing I can't quite remember. But basically, his nickname is Minty. So Nick used to put him down for all 4. and then obviously we just have a lie-in and not turn up for anyone.
Yeah. He went to the fat burning group one day, then he went to like the weights the next day. And then the third day he's like, oh, I've got to go in the back rehab group. And then the fourth day he did something else. And then the fifth day he just stayed in bed for the rest of the tournament. So that was, that was him. Genius move.
It's actually so clever, and I massively respect it. Massively respect it. Obviously, you're in charge of recruitment, Coley. Is part of one of the roles that you're doing. Any chat around, getting someone out of retirement, getting them back in?
Mike Brown, yeah, no, he's not. He's not good to go. I've tried, but he doesn't want to do it. So commute's too big. But we do have a spot on the roster for a tight head if you want to make the transition. So
I'm not far off being a tight head, and I tell you what, Coley, I felt it because I haven't moved all summer. For those listeners or viewers, you might tell I've bulked. I've enjoyed my summer. However, I did play hockey the other night. I played for the Hogs in Holt, and I had my first game of hockey in 20 years, and I was absolutely dying out there. Hockey is exhausting.
Honestly, I don't know how your back does it, mate. I couldn't run around bent over.
Mate, my back was in bits. It was my groin. My groin honestly felt like it was off the bone. And there was one time, right? So I played up front. I wasn't tracking back too much, let everyone else do the hard work and then just belt it forward and I chase after it sort of thing. And anyway, I managed to somehow stop the ball and go on a bit of a run. And I managed to go around the goalie. But it was on my reverse side. So I went around the goalie and all I had to do was tap it in on my reverse side, right? If you got it. But I then went around, and then as I went to hit it on the reverse side, I couldn't bend down low enough. So I totally missed it and then basically stumbled over and ate a load of AstroTurf. So I was like, wow. That's
a humbling moment. A welcome
humbling
to
moment.
hockey. Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I think you'd be more of a goalie, if I'm honest, Coley, if you came and ever played for the Hogs.
Mate, I've got 2 new elbows, so I am not doing any form of diving around. I'm not taking any risks. I'm just going to stay upright, and that's my new role in life, is just to maintain what I've got.
So just for the listeners, you've had, so far this summer, post-retirement, to patch you up to movable, you've had elbow op?
Right elbow, left shoulder, left elbow, which I had on Friday just gone, my hopefully final surgery, yeah.
And your left elbow, because you showed me a picture of what they took out of it, was minging.
Yeah, well, it's just bone spurs, basically, I think, or calcification. So over the years, obviously, I have hyperextended my elbows in collapsed scrums and walls, all that kind of stuff, and I think bits have flaked off from the sort of bones in your arm, and they've got in the joint, and they've just grown. And over time, especially the past 5 years, I've not been able to really straighten my arms, which is why if you look at a picture of me, I look like I'm carrying a couple of carpets, and most people think that's just natural, but it's not. It's actually my elbows are can't straighten. So part of the deal with Leicester was at some point at the end of my career, I get sorted out, and that day has come, and I've now got one straight arm, and the other is in the process. So they've removed a load of grit and other stuff from it, and it's now healing. So hopefully we'll do the other thing. It was a bit of I went up there on Friday at 4 a.m. up in Wilmslow. I was treated brilliant. It was great surgery. I think I was in surgery about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I remember waking up in the rehab room, snoring. So basically woke myself up, and then all good. Midday, they offered me some food. They're like, oh, you might throw this up. So 4 ham and mustard sandwiches later, packet of crisps, ice cream and 2 coffees. I was fine. Thanks for asking. Got dispatched. Then basically, about 3 o'clock got dispatched. Taxi driver in waiting for me, Keith. Shout out to Big Keith, legend. He went to start the car. Battery was flat. I was like, oh no. Thankfully, the maintenance man for the hospital came out with some jump leads. He sort of saved us. I went into Sainsbury's, which was across the road, high as a kite. I bought myself some salami meats, I think some biscuits, I don't know what else. I had a photo with a kid in there who had his arm in a sling, which was lovely, but I don't know how the photo turned out because I don't know where I was. Basically got back in the car, got home, all went through the Staffordshire Moorlands, beautiful part of the world, really underrated. Anyway, fell asleep on the A50, got to Leicester, got back to the house. As I got out of the car, I looked down and it turned out my elbow had leaked blood all over the inside of the door. So I felt really bad. So sorry to Keith if he needs if the car needs valeting. I did text him afterwards and offered to pay. But yes, unfortunately, they put these like blood collection things, and it collected the blood, but then it kind of, obviously where I'd leant on my arm, it then pushed the blood out and leaked through the strapping. So yeah, I felt really bad. But apart from that, yeah, all good. And onwards. Now I've got 2 straight arms. I'm going to conquer the world.
Mate, you've been patched up. I've been going on holiday with Jono and Austin and playing some hockey. You've been recruiting and
Sorry, you've been on holiday
yourself.
with Jono and Austin Healy?
Yeah, I did.
Thanks for the invite. Didn't. Yeah, I was
Well,
busy that week.
That's up to Austin. So Austin invited me. So yeah, so I went with Oz and Jono was there as well. And they were both on very good form. Very enjoyable week in Sardinia. And yeah, I'm sure that Austin would love to take you, Coley, on the trip.
What did you get up to? Maybe I don't want to go on this trip.
Essentially, there was a lot of socialising, but really it was like a little bit of coaching in the morning. And then the afternoon was, up to me and the family for downtime and enjoy the hotel and the Forte Village and everything that comes with that, and be at the beach, eat, drink, have a nice time. In the evening, we played touch rugby one night actually. So Marla came and joined us one night for touch rugby.
Brilliant.
He stood in the middle. He didn't move too well, but he was on good form.
Who took it too seriously?
Did anyone get it take too seriously? There was some people that they've definitely found some form, mate. Like scored a couple of tries. There was one chap actually that sort of not slap tackled a female, but sort of got in the way, but sort of tried. It looked like he tried to sort of like bail out of the touch, but by trying to bail out, he sort of like fell forward, but then completely like sort of chop tackled her. But I think it was totally unintentional, but like sort of went to touch, lunge, kind of got it wrong, then tried to bail out, and then instead just got it really wrong actually.
Whilst we've been away, a ginormous tournament has been occurring, Ben, hasn't it?
There has, and I've watched a lot of rugby this weekend, mate. I have. Rugby Championship on Saturday, and then the weekend's been full of watching the Women's World Cup, and I've really, really enjoying it, as is everyone in the crowd. You can see everyone's having an awesome time, and some of the games that I've watched over the weekend have been class, mate. So we should talk about them.
Yes, we should. Obviously, big game for the weekend. Red Roses beating Australia 47-7, but it wasn't as... the score probably wasn't as one-sided as it seemed, especially early doors, especially in the first half, Ben.
Yeah, I think Australia actually got a bit of sustained pressure in the Red Roses half. 22 entries and was able to build towards things. Obviously got a driving maul. They scored off that, and the Red Roses got going, but they're almost in second gear and were allowed to be. But I think what was good was the fact that Australia had sort of a number of opportunities in the 22, sort of a number of entries, and the Red Roses had to put in big defensive systems and big defensive sort of plays within that, and I think that will please them. So I saw that John Mitchell's comments after, and he was talking about, the attack wasn't quite where he wanted it to be, but I think he'll be pleased, and we know Mitch, like from a defensive point of view, like they were pretty impressive. Now you can say Australia didn't throw like as much at them as maybe other teams will, but I was impressed with England's D-set. I was impressed with how they went about their business, because there was a long time there, that first 20, 25 minutes where Australia were sort of pounding the rock, sort of coming at the Red Roses, and they dealt with it really, really well. I mean, their collision work was outstanding, as was their breakdown stuff. I think, the first 20, 25 minutes as well, England probably just made a few errors that invited pressure, I think. Just getting out their half and how they did that. There was a couple of knock-ons. There was a lovely kick into the corner, which on another day, you probably want your fullback and winger covering that. So, yeah, I think it was a good 25 minutes that England needed to have, because they were under the pressure a little bit. And from that point of view, I think if I was in the Red Roses camp or if I was in the coaching staff, I'd be really happy. I'd be happy that for 25 minutes, if things didn't go their way, and you still come out 47 points to 7, with a well-earned victory. But for 25 minutes you have to roll up your sleeves and do some big defensive sets, which they haven't necessarily had to do so far in the tournament.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think use the Red Roses, it was a good test. I think, like, you look at that first half Australian display, they found when Australia kicked, they found space in England's backfield. It'd be interesting because you're watching them play, and obviously they're so dominant, like scrum and more. I think there was there was a try at the weekend where basically the ref might have got it wrong, but let's say the ball wasn't in the scrum, England get a penalty kick for the corner, maul, goal line score, and you're kind of like, England's game is that almost they're so dominant set piece wise, and you kind of like, as the tournament goes forward, there's a lot of ball being England's back three so good at running the ball back, but at the same time, kind of like, it's interesting because there was a few knock-ons and loose balls that kind of got Australia into the game in that first half, where you think like as the tournament goes on, it'd be interesting whether England sort of go, actually, let's kick the ball in the air and make it almost contestable, because if there's a scrum, we're probably going to get penalty or dominance there, and then they get them all into the game, and you know what I mean? And I think the line-out misfired a couple of times early in the game, but at the same time, that dominance grew. So it'll be interesting how England evolve, and if teams try and, to beat the Red Roses, you're going to have to stop them mauling and scrummaging, which is a hell of a task. But it'll just be interesting England evolve basically in how they, if they almost run the ball less, become less risk adverse. You know what I mean? It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, but they play some great stuff, and it's how they do things, isn't it? But at the moment, they can get away with it, Coley. They can afford to, run it from deep and do all that, because ultimately the consequences aren't there, because they're just so much more dominant than the other teams. And you're right, in terms of their power game, I think that is, if in doubt, if a game ever comes tight, that's exactly what they go to. Yes, they've got some lovely shape and distributors, and they really move the ball really well, but they've just got so much more power than the other teams. And, the Red Roses scrum is almost like, what the Red Roses scrum does in the women's game is very similar to what the Springboks do in the men's game. It's like that much of a weapon and that dominant. Australia had one scrum, literally, I think it was like 5 from their line, and the Red Rose just went straight over the top of them. And you're almost like thinking, to the point where, Coley, you are like, is that safe? Like it was that dominant. You're like, a bit like the South African scrum actually against New Zealand. I think it was like back end of the game, wasn't it, in the Rugby Championship? One of those scrums there, you're like, oh my gosh, like, wow. And that's sort of that, for people that haven't seen much of the games, like the Red Roses scrum in the women's game is the equivalent of what the Springboks bring in the male game. Really, really dominant.
The Red Roses set piece is so dominant. I sort of talked about potentially sort of shifting the game plan, but at the same time, their backs and the way they move the ball has been fantastic, and so the way they bring the back three into it. You've obviously, well, if people don't know, you've interviewed Zoe Harrison on a previous podcast, and so what have you seen in her game and her battle with Holly Aitchison as the sort of 10s for England? Yeah,
look, Holly Aitchison has had an ankle injury, so it was actually her first game at the weekend against Australia, and it was going to be a real debate between herself and Zoe Harrison. Now, Zoe Harrison's obviously played more minutes, been able to sort of establish her World Cup campaign and play and sort of stamp her marker down, I guess, without Holly sort of being available till the weekend. So I'd be really interested to see what they decide to do when they obviously face Scotland in the quarterfinal. But Zoe Harrison, when you look at the first try for Jess Breach, the way that she got out the back of shape. So Meg Jones, I think, has also been terrific for the Red Roses. Defensively, offensively as well, like distribution, like powerful runner. Meg Jones, like lovely distribution. But, Zoe gets out the back of that shape and they pull it back. So they sort of hit the first forward, another forward coming short, pull it out the back to Zoe, and then she loves it. She throws a lovely pass over the top from right to left to Jess Breach, who gets the first try for the Red Roses. So I think that vision and that execution was really impressive for me. She also did a cracking from left to right later on in the game to Abby Dow, and again just a lovely sort of miss, but weight of pass, length of pass, spot on. So she's definitely sort of pulling the strings, I'd say, at the moment. And given the fact that she has had the reins from the start of the tournament because she hasn't been injured, unlike Holly, it's hard to sort of see how you don't pick her right now. So I think at the moment that's who they'll back and continue to play with. And obviously Mo Hunt insider with the with all her experience at 9 and everything like that. So yeah, they've got a real nice combination going, those two.
Also, one big shout out's probably the wrong word, but Alex Matthews, captain in England. I think she's spoken about her father is struggling with terminal cancer, but he was there and watching the game in Brighton. And I think as yourself, Ben, if you don't mind sort of talking about it, like you've been through things in your family, haven't you, and playing with stuff going on in the background. And how do you deal with it? How, you know what I mean? Does it inspire you? Is it something you take with you onto the pitch? I don't want to speak for Alex Matthews herself, but in terms of having that going on in your life? Does it affect your rugby?
Yeah, look, it affects everyone in very different ways, and you're right, Coley. Like, we don't want to speak on Alex Matthews' behalf. I think first and foremost, what a moment for her to captain the Red Roses at Brighton. Huge crowd, to have her dad in the crowd. With the battle that he's having at the moment with cancer. I'm sure the extended family are all there as well. So an incredible, I'd say, very moving, emotional day for the Matthews family. And she should be incredibly proud of the memory that she created and given her dad, being there in the family. And I think when you are in that situation, and say, Coley, you alluded to it, I've had family members, that unfortunately have had battles and lost them, and you're still going about playing for England and doing your thing whilst, they've got all this going on in their lives. And it's incredibly hard to stay focused on terms of what you're trying to do, but you do feel responsible that you can give them a bit of joy for 80 minutes of the weekend. And I've certainly felt, when Tiff was going through her situation, when my brother-in-law Jake was going through his situation with MMD, you feel incredibly responsible to try and bring some form of joy for 80 minutes. You feel responsible to try and help the family escape that situation of what's going on, and everyone can sit there and watch for 80 minutes and enjoy it and forget of all the crap that's going on and all the awfulness that they're having to face. And I always felt really responsible for that. And I found it very hard. I found it very, very hard. I felt guilty at times for playing for England and doing what I was doing and achieving these things, because like, for a lot of people, they think that your life's not affected, or, people don't know what's going on, but you feel guilty that you're carrying on, and it seems like carrying on is normal because you're doing your job and playing for England and everything looked great and everyone thinks it's amazing. And it's actually like, it's very, very difficult, but you feel more that you're doing it for them, mate. You're just trying to give them something to enjoy and give your family a bit of hope and a bit of happiness whilst there's such a dark black cloud over it. So yeah, like, to be honest with you, mate, I talk about it really a lot in my book. I go into depth, and that's why it's talked about Beyond the Line, because it talks way more about that situation, those battles I had, in depth than what I'll talk about now. But certainly, what Alex did to captain the Red Rose, to have her dad in the crowd, to have her family surrounding she's done an amazing job, because don't underestimate how hard that is for that individual to go out there, play, perform, and know what's the family are facing, and you don't know what's going to happen, from week to week, and it's bloody difficult. So a huge shout out, as you say, Coley, a big shout out to Alex Matthews and her family.
No, Ben, that's very moving stuff. And I think one thing you can see in the Red Roses camp, I'll say, on a wider issue, they look like a very tight-knit group, and I think that's important for the coaching staff, the players. Like, you try and rally around each other. When people have stuff going on outside the rugby field, you rally around each other. I think you can see that in the Red Roses group and how close they are. And you never want to use that as emotional fuel, but it can definitely help push a team, spur them on further, which the team will need further onto this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Your teammates play a huge part, Coley, in making sure that there's your support network. They're aware of what's going on. They'll be aware of the emotional experience that she had, as will John Mitchell. And again, it's about, making sure they're all right, picking them up, and just managing that emotional ride, because, when you've got things going off the field, trying to juggle everything and stay on task and everything like that, you just need good people around you. And you can see, Cole, as you said, they're cohesive. They look really, really tight. And, I'm sure that they're helping her through a very difficult time. Back to the game, though, Coley. The games have been a bit one-sided for the Red Roses and for other teams. And it's obviously still early in the World Cup. We're now about to go into the quarterfinal. Do you think there's now a flick of the switch? Do you think there's they could afford to sort of cruise? And I'm not saying they have cruised, because I think they've been really impressive in a lot of the things they have done. But do you think that now it's like, right, flick the switch, you've got 3 games to go, win it now, girls?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that tournament mentality, if you remember I'll refer to our World Cup 2023, we framed the tournament in regards to, like, there was almost 3 phases. The first phase was get to Paris, which meant, because we weren't in Paris until the semi-finals, so that was also a group stage, and I'm pretty sure, and after that it was like winning Paris. I'm pretty sure the Red Rose will have looked at the tournament and sort of gone, look, we top our group, and then went to the quarterfinals and into knockout rugby. So, they might have had sort of semi-easy games, but they're prepared for it. You can see they're sort of relaxed, and then I'm pretty sure they will, from now on, well, they can stay relaxed, but you know what I mean? But the tournament shifts gear, and I think that's sort of knockout rugby now. And I think you see the Red Roses shift gear because they'll be prepared for it. It's not like they're sort of just waltzing through the games. They will actually, there'll be a stage 2 to their preparation, and all the mentality and all the work they've done off the field will be this week, and in the coming weeks will step up.
Yeah, and I just think they look really formidable. I do, and I think that the fact that they've got the game plan that they have at the moment and the way that they can play, but having that banker of always going back to dominate up front is really, really a nice feeling and a peace of mind for them. So they're in a great spot. John Mitchell's got loads of experience. And obviously your interview with Hannah Bottoman was on Thursday, Coley, and actually Mitch interrupts it halfway through. So he's a really fun and relaxed character. And again, he'll be making sure that, the Red Rose are enjoying all of it, enjoying all the atmosphere. You can see the fact they're moving around and they're integrating with the fans, and I think it's wonderful. But Mitch will allow, yes, we're focused, but equally enjoy it and bring that sort of, not let the occasion sort of daunt you or be over, be feared by it or anything like that. And he'll still bring that sort of relaxed atmosphere whilst, being very focused on what needs to happen. But, sort of on and off flick of the switch sort of mentality of, when we're on, but when we're off, really just enjoy, don't, relax and enjoy the whole experience.
That's the thing. I think, speaking from personal experience, we've had coaches that I think when they're authentic to themselves, which Mitch is, you can be relaxed, and he'll be relaxed for the tournament, because actually sometimes you have coaches that sort of act relaxed, and then when the pressure comes on, they tighten up, and that feeds through the team. And so I don't think Mitch will do that. And say it's that balance of, we've also had coaches that are probably tense all the time, whether we're training on a Monday or a Tuesday, and you're not saying it feeds through the team, but that's who they are. But as a team, is not then reacting badly to it. And I think that's the, with Mitch, say, Red Roses, if they can see they're having fun, I think they'll continue to do that through the tournament. And yes, it will probably, the intensity of the games and the serious nature of the tournament will change, but I don't think you'll see a change in the Red Roses, the way they apply themselves and the way they go about their business, because, I think that's the way they've been set up, and rightly so, and they're there to enjoy it and make memories from this home World Cup, which is great to see. Because something we do.
Exactly, Coley. And big shout out to Sadia Kabea, co-host of the For Love of Rugby. Absolute stormer of a performance from her. So good luck this weekend to the Red Roses as they take on Scotland. We need to touch on Fiji versus Wales, Coley, because it was a cracking game. The end of the game as well was slightly chaotic, and for a second I thought Fiji had blown it, because those that didn't see it, it's basically a scrum 5 out, wasn't it, Coley? And all Fiji needed to do was get the ball in out the scrum and kick it off. And the halfback, the scrum half, passes it to the 10, chucks a paper bag in a hurricane pass, and the 10 sort of got her hands over the top of her head, sort of like watching this ball sort of move all over the place, and it goes through her hands and goes straight into the dead ball. And there's this fear of a moment of, oh my God, is that a penalty? Can you do that?
There was drama at the end of the game, yeah. I mean, it was, I say, fair play to Fiji. It's great for the tournament seeing those kind of results. Feel a bit bad for Wales. Obviously, if you're a Welsh fan, you haven't had the best of years in terms of rugby. But I know in terms of that game in the World Cup, I think, it's fantastic for the tournament. And fair play to Fiji. So they kept it interesting right to the end.
For a lower ranking nation like Fiji in the women's game, to get a result like that is absolutely huge to them. And you saw the emotions after from their captain and what it meant to the team. So I think it was awesome. Great result for them. Brilliant. Also incredibly Fijian at the ending and how that sort of unfolded for a second. You thought, oh my goodness. The great Wasili Sarevi was in the crowd watching his daughter. And I see he was speaking actually to Prince William, wasn't he? Maybe he's getting him to come and visit Fiji.
A lot of these teams don't play regular rugby like we see in the Northern Hemisphere, so I think it's great for those teams to have these regular games. And also, you hope the legacy of this World Cup is those teams have something to build on and can be greater in 4 years' time. We have more teams in the World Cup, and the games are of higher value. You can see how well supported they've been and how well everyone's been received. And I think that hopefully the legacy of this tournament is the growth in the game across the world. Absolutely. And Canada-Scotland. So Scotland will, of course, take on the Red Roses, but they came up against Canada and lost. And what I will say about Canada, and we know that Canadian women's rugby is very strong. Their pack is good, mate. Like, they were happy to maul and brawl, mate, pick and go and use some powerful athletes. So when you start thinking about
the Red Roses and their pack dominance, that you can really start seeing through the quarterfinals. I think, when you start, you can kind of work out who's likely to win. But the prospect of having a sort of New Zealand-Canada semi-final versus an England-France semi-final, absolute two cracking games there. So I think Canada will be too strong in the quarterfinals. I'm impressed with them. Power game. Scotland just couldn't deal with that up front, I think, and that's the thing. Their backs are actually quite. Their backs actually have quite a bit about them. Scotland do. They're quite threatening, but the pack just couldn't sort of physically deal with Canada's strength.
Well, the old saying in rugby goes that forwards win the game and backs decide by how much. So yeah, no, it rings true. I think it's been interesting as the tournament unfolds, as you say, with those semi-finals, is how battle hardened the teams are going into the semis and finals. Because if you could say, in some regards, you look at, say, if it is a Canada New Zealand semi-final, not trying to look too far ahead, but those two teams will be battle hardened against the final. But actually, if you look at the attritional of this World Cup's been fairly attritional. England lost a couple of players at the weekend, hopefully for not too long a period, but all these games, there's a lot of injuries, and it'll be interesting to see if those two knock each other, lumps out of each other, what happens. So yeah, there's lots of things to think about in the knockout stage of this World Cup, and it's exciting.
We will talk about Ireland versus the Black Ferns after this.
Just like rugby, running a business takes grit, hard work, and a great team behind you.
And that is where Funding Circle comes in.
They're backing businesses like yours to access fast, hassle-free finance to help you thrive.
From coffee shops to kit manufacturers and loads in between.
Whether it's a loan, asset finance, or payment tools you need, Funding Circle leverages cutting-edge technology and data to deliver fast, fair, and hassle-free finance solutions and help your business thrive.
In rugby, we know the importance of a team behind the team. And in business, it's no different. We also know there's also those in the back room who go unseen and uncelebrated.
Funding Circle are proud champions of small and medium businesses and want to celebrate the team behind the team. The countless support systems who back the big players and the small businesses from the sidelines.
So, whether you're in business, rugby, or both, Funding Circle is the business finance provider that backs you and your business to succeed.
To find out how Funding Circle can get your business scores over the line, go to fundingcircle.com/rugby.
Right, Coley, the final game of the Women's World Cup I want to touch on is, of course, New Zealand versus Ireland. New Zealand winning 40-0. And I've got to say, as it stands, I think New Zealand are the biggest threat to the Red Roses winning the World Cup. Did you know, actually, that they've only lost 2 games in the whole World Cup? So they've won 39 out of 41 games within a Women's World Cup. That is a mental stat.
What can I say, Ben? New Zealand, they look like a typical New Zealand side, and I mean that in the nicest sense of the world. The fact that they move the ball to the edge, I think early doors they had a set piece inside their own 22. Normal teams probably just kick it away, with New Zealand played to the edge, ball through the hands, made meters on the in the wing, play back inside, and then kick the ball. But like the fact that they are moving the ball around and shifting points of attack and stuff, it shows you how comfortable they are, all their players handling the ball and moving it around, which is a lot like a New Zealand's men's side.
Yeah, I was super impressed, Coley, just by their pure catch pass distribution, preserving space. You look at their last try and just like the understanding of squaring up defenders, shoulder ball, distribution, pass in front and all that. And it was evident throughout the game, like their ability to just do the basics of the game over and over again. As you say, Coley, it was so sort of what you'd expect from New Zealand sort of rugby culture. And I thought technically they were fantastic. I thought Renee Holmes as well. What a goal kicker! I know she had one charge down, which we don't see very often. But she started her move, and then Ireland sort of knock it off the tee. But other than that, she was slotting goals for fun, even the wider ones. So she's a hell of a place kicker. But I was super impressed by just their ability to preserve space, catch pass, tightness and shape, and make it look very, very easy, which it isn't. It's far from it. But from me, watching them today, I thought, yeah, they're the biggest threat to the Red Roses, in my opinion. I do think that Ireland threw a lot at them. Like they tried, and they tried to sort of batter down the door, coming at them sort of wave of attack and shape and everything like that. And New Zealand just had all the answers. And again, they did at times they had to bar up, and they did, and they defended their line very, very well. Sometimes, it says everything about a team when you're winning by such a margin, but you are still fighting for everything to not concede. It says a lot about a team, and I saw that from them. And super impressed. Breakdown stuff, tackle area. And there was also another opportunity they had where, they got a turnover sort of like 2 meters from the line, maybe, shifted it from right to left. Up they go, kick it, foot race. They actually fumble it, unfortunately. The 7, who's a fantastic player, she picks it up, but just fumbles it before she distributes it. And it comes back for a TMO, and they rule it out. But doesn't that just show you, like, the threat is what, again, like, when we've played against New Zealand teams, it is like a turnover and they go. And us, again, like it was a perfect example, Coley. So I agree with what you said, mate. And we saw it firsthand today. So Ireland, they were just outclassed in so many areas today.
I think we also saw a potential new star of the game in Braxton Sorensen McGee scoring a hat-trick. She's only 18. Phenomenal. I think the way her ability to step off her right foot and ghost inside of players was incredible.
Yeah, Coley, cracking performance from her. And you think, 18, you are fearless, like you're taking people on and everything like that. And she looks like someone that's just playing with such confidence, totally fearless. And as I said earlier, with the distribution and their ability just to do the simple things so well, like you're giving her space, giving opportunity to go do her thing. And she's absolutely bringing it. Another sort of amazing New Zealand back 3 player. Off the treadmill, they just always produce them, and she's fast becoming a superstar, and rightly so. And we're in the studio next week with Ruby Tui, so I'd love to know when we catch up with her. We'll have to ask her what she like as a personality, as an 18-year-old, and how she's come in and what she's done, being able to settle into the Black Ferns like she has. So one to look out for, Coley, for the remainder of the tournament, and if they do make the final against the Red Roses, someone that they'll have to shut down, that's for sure.
Well, that's it from us today. But if you want more Rugby World Cup chat, you're in luck.
You are in luck, because we've got another podcast for you to try. It's the official World Cup podcast presented by Asahi Superdry.
It's hosted by Betty Glover and Anne Onwasiri. And just like me and Ben, they're here not for a good time, but a great time.
There's a new podcast out every Wednesday during the tournament with great guests and even quizzes.
Quizzes, you say? I listened to the last episode, and I've got a quiz question for you, Ben. Which team has an English head coach?
Ireland. Scott Beamond.
Well done, Ben. Yes, you could have had him or Australia head coach Joe Yapp.
I had 2 options. There we go. I went with Scotty, so I'm glad I got it right. To listen to the official World Cup podcast, click the link in the episode description. Well, Coley, it's great to be back, and I feel like we only scratched the surface of what we've been up to during our summer.
Yes. We could have spent a lot longer talking about your holidays, but there is actually a lot of rugby going on, and I think the listeners would like to know about that. So, unfortunately, we had to cut it short, but I'm sure we will pick it up later on ourselves and discuss, won't we?
We will, but it's nice to be back. Maud, Shauna and Sadia are back later this week.
And if you want even more For the Love of Rugby content, check out last week's YouTube video, where we teach Ilona Marr some British slang.
Thanks to Royal London, founding partners of the first ever British and Irish Lions women's team.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
For the Love of Rugby.
If you want to drop us a line, get involved with our socials.
Just search for @LoveOfRugby. And if you've listened to all our episodes and need another podcast, go and find Joe Marler's Things People Do.
See you next time.